It's a gorgeous fall afternoon in the Big Apple for some Super League Sunday action. Fort Lauderdale United FC visits New York for the first time this season for a rematch with Brooklyn FC. Alongside three-time Division I All-American and Hall of Fame soccer player Renee Washington, I'm Bridget Howard bringing you all the action from Rocco B. Camisso Stadium. Well, these two sides met 3 weeks ago in Fort Lauderdale, and Brooklyn head coach Jess Silva told us this week that they're ready for this rematch and coming out with some hunger. They didn't feel like this game showed their true identity.
Yeah, so when you look at the last time these two matched up, Reese Klein gets the game winner, but Fort Lauderdale dominated in terms of shots on goal. They both had 13 shots apiece, but just 2 in favor of Brooklyn. Fort Lauderdale with more chances, made the most of the one they had, and controlled the tempo in that game.
Well, since their last meetings, Brooklyn has had quite a mixed bag of results across their 4 matches, while Fort Lauderdale has only had 1 match since their last meeting, which was a 2-1 loss to Lexington.
For Brooklyn right now, they're talking about just building the foundation of their club, making sure they can build off of their confidence. They're not frustrated by the results. They're frustrated by how they're not putting chances away. Fort Lauderdale on the other side, a team that hasn't played nearly as many games as Brooklyn has in this tight space. But for them, it's about building with having pieces that are missing today to have other players that can step up and be ready to perform.
Well, Brooklyn is coming off a 2-1 comeback win over Tampa Bay on Wednesday night as we saw goals from Dana Sheriff and Jess Garziano. And as we get a look at her here, Garziano was the September Super League Player of the Month and has been one of the top offensive forces in the league this season.
Yeah, when you look at those 3 goals and 8 chances, not only does she help contribute with goals, but does a lot of the little things to link play, generates crosses, wins 50-50s, helps them control tempo by winning tackles and being such a presence anytime the ball's in her area to help connect and give them good chances getting forward to try to finish.
For Fort Lauderdale, they're guided up front by Addie McCain, who leads all scorers in the Super League with 6 goals on the year, while the back line is held down by Lavini Vaca, the former BYU star.
When you look at for Fort Lauderdale, their attack, Addie McCain, of course, the big reason why they're successful with her 6 goals, including a hat trick in that 3-1 win over Lexington. But also, they are one of the lowest teams in terms of shots created, but highest in conversion rate. They finish their chances, they execute, and it helps when you have a player like Laveni Vaca that has just around a 92% passing accuracy to help create and facilitate.
2 very consistent and experienced players on this Fort Lauderdale side. A lot to be excited about with this matchup today between Brooklyn FC and Fort Lauderdale United FC. Brooklyn hoping to pick up their 5th win of the year, while Fort Lauderdale looks to get back to their winning ways. Lineups, first half, and more coming your way. This is the USL Super League on Peacock.
New flavors, the same traditions. Be the guest of honor. Add more flavor to your parties. El Jimador, spiked bebidas.
This is the beginning. This is a first practice, a first video session, a first pregame talk. This is a first ticket, a first scarf raise, a first kickoff. This is a tapestry of clubs and players and communities inspired by those who blazed the trail for women's sports, ready to inspire the next generation. We are the USL Super League. We're part of a movement, and this is our moment.
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
The 2 most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why.
Yeah, I said what I said. I don't care, I paint the town red.
If you can survive this, it's going to make the whole story that much better.
The bright horses are broken free from the fields.
Moments away from first kick at Rocco B. Camisso Stadium in Manhattan. Renee Washington and Bridget Howard bringing you the action this afternoon. All right, let's get to our starting lineups. For Brooklyn, they made a handful of changes up top prior to their match on Wednesday. Garziano did not start on Wednesday. She's back in the starting 11 this afternoon.
Yes, they made some changes, including bringing in a player like Emily Yapel, who gets to go again today. And for this group, as they're trying to be more clinical in the final third, going to look to play through players like Mackenzie Pluck, Garziano, who we highlighted in the open, and Kroger in the midfield to get forward. Martinez does anchor the back line as Sydney Martinez gets to start in net.
As for Fort Lauderdale, we knew there would be a change on the back line due to some injuries, but it appears they made some other changes as well, most notably Felicia Knox not in the midfield.
Yes, and with some changes with the injuries of having a player and also having Reese Klein out on international duty, Delaney Lindahl not in as well, Cosette Morche out, so it does make some changes across. Cheyenne Allen gets to go up top. You also have in net a change with McKenna Gottschalk, and then along the back line, players like Sabrina McNeil on the outside back, as well as Brooks on the other side. So some slight changes for Fort Lauderdale United as well.
Yeah, Sabrina McNeil hasn't played in a game this year for Fort Lauderdale. This will be her first start, a late signee. From Tyrone Mears, the head coach for Fort Lauderdale, a former pro player from 2001 to 2019, comes to Fort Lauderdale from Inter Miami CF Academy, was an assistant coach for the U17 side. He was named the September Super League Coach of the Month. And as for Brooklyn FC, it's Jess Silva leading this squad. She was announced as head coach on September 23rd, signed to a 2-year contract, and she served as an assistant coach for the U15, 17, and 20 Canadian youth national teams. A lot of experience she brings to Brooklyn, and they're coming off of a win. They've had some success. They were on a bit of a skid, but talking with her this week, she's excited about this group, and quite frankly, the results may not show the progress they're making, but there's a lot to look forward to with this Brooklyn team.
Yes, the reality is it's still very early on in the season for all of the teams, as they're still looking to figure out their identity, figure out best combinations. And so you're going to learn and take some lumps along the way while you're doing that.
Well, we're off and running at Rocco B. Camisso Stadium. Renee Washington, Bridget Howard with you for the action today. And Brooklyn picks this off deep in Fort Lauderdale's half, a shot on goal. And a quick save from McKenna Gottschalk, some early action.
That's exactly what you want to see for Brooklyn. As we talk about that skid, they are a team that had won 3 games in a row, got off to a great start in the season, and then with a lot of games in a short period of time, have just been dropping some results. So this is a good time back at home, a chance to reset. They know they have the fall break coming up very soon, so just wanting to close out the right way, and what better way to do that than a nice, beautiful Sunday game at home to get that going.
Jasmine Hamid putting the pressure on up top as Brooklyn looks to clear this out of their half. Brooklyn in the dark pinstripe kits this afternoon. Fort Lauderdale United in their away kits, white tops, turquoise bottoms. We've got some good uniforms around the USL Super League.
Yes, they are pretty. I love the design. It's very sleek, very edgy, and it looks great running up and down the field with the colors, and it's fantastic to see. Those are the important details too, Bridget.
They are. We have to point them out.
Well, as a fan, also it gives you excitement knowing you get to rock some great gear.
They've got some great scarves for the fans. The colors around this league are quite lovely. Well, as we mentioned, Brooklyn looking to pick up their 5th win of the season, and for Fort Lauderdale, it's riding the ship. They're looking to bounce back after their loss to Lexington last weekend. As Brooklyn makes their way up the field, Garziano with a tackle just outside the top of the box, and a shot on goal and a save for McKenna Gottschalk.
And already you're seeing for head coach Jess Silva's side, testing Martinez on the other end. That's exactly what you want to not only get forward and generate chances, something that she talked about with us prior to this game was wanting to make sure you're putting them on frame. That's something they did not do last time these two matched up. 2 goals on target the last time they matched up, and already that's 2 shots. And already that's 2 shots on target to start off this game.
Fort Lauderdale trying to settle this ball. We'll work it around the back line. Vinny Vaca, who we talked about in the open, former BYU star, 91.7% passing accuracy. We both kind of gasped when we saw that stat. It's very impressive.
It's also just great to have a player like that that's nearly perfection, and to know that you can rely on her to connect passes and help you build up the pitch is such a vital bonus piece to have to your attack in terms of fluidity and consistency, to know when she's got the ball at her feet, something good is about to happen.
Jasmine Hamid trying to find a Fort Lauderdale teammate on the far side of the pitch, and it'll roll out of bounds for a Brooklyn throw-in. So roll back to the back line of Fort Lauderdale. We mentioned Reese Klein with the game-winning goal in their first meeting. She's on national team duty for the U19 team currently.
Yes, I think when you have an opportunity, especially right now for across the league, players are off representing their various countries during the overlap of the international calendar. It also allows for the club to have other players now step up, get some minutes. Again, they're still learning so much, and to now give other players opportunities to see how they handle that starting role or just being in a different role on your roster is valuable. You never know who you're going to need as the season progresses.
A good pick from Sam Kroger dropping back. Sasha Pickard.
So far, Brooklyn coming out, keeping a little bit better of the possession. They did feel like for them, that was something they wanted to provide more of, is just offensively giving options quicker, building up as a team, and making sure that they're doing a better job once they're getting into their attacking third. Something that they struggled with last time they played was, of course, that attacking third piece, but it starts in the midfield connection and building out of the back.
Well, she said, you know, one, we weren't good enough on set pieces, but also when they've got an attack like Fort Lauderdale does with Shania Gordon and Addie McCain and Jasmine Hamid, all these players with speed, you have to contain them to have a chance.
You have to, absolutely. It's the transition game and set pieces are two big components of this sport, and you have to make sure you're always detail-oriented in those spaces. That's something for Fort Lauderdale. They're also trying to make sure they're bringing tactically of just defending better, especially minimizing chances like this.
Here comes Dana Sheriff. Sheriff got her first start of the season back on Wednesday night against Tampa Bay. Good decision making there. She'll bounce this one off a Fort Lauderdale defender, and it will roll out for a corner kick for Brooklyn, their first of the afternoon.
Well, Brooklyn does like to get into those wide spaces to create overloads, and Fort Lauderdale very aware of that, knowing that's something they're going to have to be strong in their defensive shape to stay compact and minimize these chances for them to get set pieces and create from the wide spaces. And well done by Brooklyn, though, to stay patient and composed to generate and set up for a corner kick here.
Sam Kroger on the ball. She'll send this one into the box. Will bounce to the far side of the pitch. And Brooklyn will look to recycle. On Wednesday, this is where we saw Brooklyn have a lot of success. It was on their second opportunities they got off of set pieces that they were able to create the most dangerous opportunities.
Well, the key is, even as we saw that last corner, dropping it into a dangerous spot and then getting numbers in and around the ball in waves. So if the first wave is unable to connect off of that service, the second wave can win it back. And now while the opponent's trying to get organized defensively, allows you to create another threatening opportunity.
Gottschalk plays it to Vaca. Some pressure from Sheriff. This ball played forward. Cheyenne Allen not able to get to it.
Well, already you see the pressure that Brooklyn is bringing, just getting very organized, very tight to Fort Lauderdale. Every time Fort Lauderdale does have the ball, the home team is right there, just cutting down angles, forcing them to make play predictable, that they can help work to win the ball back.
Dana Sheriff once again taking it to the touchline. The Rocket bounces back off the bleachers. Pickard with the throw in. Addie McCain with the back touch, but it'll roll out of bounds for yet another Brooklyn throw in. Addie McCain's been on a tear since joining the USL Super League. Leads all scorers with 6 goals on the season. She had a hat trick against Lexington, the first in Fort Lauderdale club history. She's got 3 match opening goals this season. It's definitely a player you have to watch throughout the entire course of a game, but certainly in the opening moments.
Yeah, right now for Brooklyn, they're doing a good job making sure McCain is only on the defensive side. Fort Lauderdale unable to really sustain possession in these early minutes. That's one great way to eliminate a lethal playmaker like Addie McCain is do not allow Fort Lauderdale to have the ball and don't allow them to keep possession. It's been Brooklyn that's had the better of play to start.
Kenzie Pluck tries to find Jess Garziano. Will be a goal kick for Gottschalk.
On the other side for Pluck, she's been a big boost to this offense. We talk about the goal scoring, but she creates so many chances for them, helps them get forward, leads the league actually, and as second across the league in 16 chances created. Just does a phenomenal job as a playmaker out the midfielder for them. Someone that is also active to find the ball.
Ball played forward to Cheyenne Allen. She gets the Meg. Sasha Pickard will hold her back. A yellow card issued by our head official, Thomas Snyder.
Well, Cheyenne Allen back at the home of Columbia University, where the Brown University alum played many games and was a terror in the Ivy League for reasons like this. I was fortunate to watch her college career on a number of broadcasts. This is what she does so well. 1v1, the creativity, just able to spin her touch there, working around Sasha Pickard, and then draws the foul, and now gives the first real opportunity for Fort Lauderdale to get something going forward with Brooks on the ball here, that they have a chance to finally see what they can do to get into their attacking third and create something dangerous.
So here comes Cameron Brooks. She'll service this ball into the box. Martinez leaps up. He's able to come down with it.
That's a good idea by Cameron Brooks, trying to drive that one across the box. Just a bit too direct, didn't have time for her teammates to get on the other end of it. Cindy Martinez shows off the height, the bright goalkeeper kits. You could see extending out to catch that one easily. Both teams have actually talked a lot about that final third execution, especially on set pieces, and that is something to keep an eye on in this contest of who will be more clinical in those areas.
When looking at this matchup today, just in the sheer number of games that these two teams have played, when you look at Brooklyn, they've played 9 games so far this season. Fort Lauderdale just 6, but the stat that stands out, right, is goals. Here comes Cheyenne Allen. Cheyenne Allen taking it herself. She tries to play it across the box, and a weird spin there as it jumps off the turf, but Martina is able to come down with it.
That was a very odd bounce we saw there, Bridget. It looked like it was going to cleanly roll out of bounds, kind of bounce backward on that one. And Allen, that's a couple plays now where she's had the ball at her feet and made something happen. I mean, to your point, these are two teams that are around the same spot in terms of goals, but not around the same spot in terms of games played. And for them to be so close, with actually Fort Lauderdale having more team goals, 9-8 in their favor, with significantly less games, I think says a lot about these two teams.
Here comes Mackenzie George. George taking it to the end line, and it'll be picked off and sent out of bounds. I believe that was Lavinie Vaca there with the touch.
Yeah, you like the way that Mackenzie George gets forward with conviction here, driving towards end line, looking to get around Vaca, but gets the help defense there. That's nicely done by Fort Lauderdale and tracking back, being able to provide some help defense to Vaca there. Sabrina McNeil works back on the double team. Even Gottschalk able to close down the space as well, smothering.
Corner kick for Brooklyn. They try and get a head on it, and it's cleared out by Fort Lauderdale. All played back across, headed out by Fort Lauderdale. Good coverage from Sasha Pickard. She plays it back to Sydney Martinez. Talking with Brooklyn head coach Jess Silva earlier this week, we asked her, the takeaways from their match on Wednesday versus Tampa Bay. Ended a 4-match winless streak for Brooklyn. This ball dangerously cleared out by McKenna Gottschalk.
Very close play there. Well done by McKenna Gottschalk to go quickly. You cannot hesitate on a play like that as a keeper, because that might be the difference between the clearance and the ball hitting the back of your net. And well done by Gottschalk to be off her line and clear that one out of a dangerous area. Look here, Brooklyn just doing a good job keeping their line compact, not chasing. Fort Lauderdale is trying to make them step to find a seam to play into, but instead you like that defensive play. Nice sequence of just being patient, forcing the direct pass from Fort Lauderdale to win it back.
Kenzie Pluck with some moves in the midfield. She finds Sheriff. Garziano takes a rip. Gottschalk with another save. We've seen Jess Garziano score from range. That's her sweet spot right there, but that one stays on the ground.
Yeah, and you have to be encouraged by how Brooklyn has started off this game. Very nicely done on both sides of the ball. Just right now, playing a bit smarter, reading the game well, anticipating defensively, allowing them to make sure to mitigate anything that Fort Lauderdale is looking to do to build up the field. And then when they do win it, immediately transitioning to offense. So I think this Brooklyn side's got to be pleased with how they've kicked off this game so far.
They look structurally sound, you could say, just in the way that they're pressing. Just to amplify your comments there, but that's where they saw success against Tampa on Wednesday with the way they were able to press, pick balls off in the midfield. Fort Lauderdale continues to target this near side flank. Ball sent across, headed out by Brooklyn. Pluck finds Sheriff. A mistouch by Sheriff. Give possession back to Fort Lauderdale.
We'll give credit to the visiting team, as Fort Lauderdale has, as you mentioned, been able to get down this left flank. It's kind of opening the game up for them too.
And again, another opportunity on this near side. Shania Gordon on the near side.
Yes, we saw it was Cheyenne Allen earlier. It was Shania Gordon now. It's the left side is the consistent theme here for Fort Lauderdale. They've been able to find success down, and it's allowing them to slowly kind of get their feet under them and settle in.
Pluck keeps this herself, sends it out wide to George. George plays it across. It will roll out of bounds once again for the third corner kick of the afternoon for Brooklyn FC.
Well, it feels like Brooklyn is just building off of that Wednesday game that's you know, it was a challenge for them of just how quick in transition it was, generating shots on target as an area of improvement for them. But their whole overall final third play was a step in the right direction for them compared to previous games, and it feels like today they've just kind of continued off of that, picked up right where they left off on Wednesday.
Absolutely, and Jess Silva told us they've put a lot of effort into set pieces and wanting to be dangerous in these opportunities, and here we're seeing them with their third corner kick of the afternoon. Sam Kroger electing to take the kick once again. Ball into the box, punched out by Gottschalk. Pantuso plays it back. Brooklyn trying to make something happen here. Garziano checks back, turns it over. Addie McCain comes up with the ball. And here comes Fort Lauderdale United. Fort Lauderdale United, certainly a team that likes the possession game, right? And when talking with associate head coach Allie Rogers, she said it's really been a matter of possession and threat, right? So where are you? Are you going to be keeping the ball here, or do we need to go forward? It's being smart about that possession play.
Yeah, it's essentially being able to pick and choose your moments because you don't want to force it forward if it's not on. So just finding the times, and that comes down to being able to read the game, reading what's on, and letting the game come to you instead of always trying to force it and being too direct at times. And that is something they felt like they've struggled with at stretches of this season, as you even see there, an unfortunate turnover of just maybe forcing a pass and making the simple pass to keep it.
Quick passing from Brooklyn. Switch sides of the field.
And again, it does feel like we're starting to see a little bit of a change. It was Brooklyn that started out this game in the early minutes as the aggressor, playing on the front foot, and it does feel like it started with the success on the left side, but now the game is beginning to open up for Fort Lauderdale a little bit. I do still think they're forcing some of those passes to their front line instead of finding their midfielders or even their outside backs to build through, but they're sustaining possession a little bit more. The energy's raising, the tempo's increasing as well.
Mackenzie Pluck has been impressive with her footwork in the early moments. Well, in the aftermath of both hurricanes Helene and Milton, the USL has partnered with United Way Suncoast to help the Tampa Bay area recover from the devastation the storm left behind. To learn how you can get involved, scan the QR code or visit www.uslsoccer.com/Milton to ensure individuals and families have the access to resources they need to recover. Pluck sends this ball in. Some collisions in the box.
Another dangerous opportunity off of the corner kick by Pluck. Yapel in the mix. Whistle does get called now. It's interesting as we talk about building off of Wednesday for Brooklyn, who had 4 winless games and was able to get a great midweek win over Tampa Bay. Emily Yapel, Dana Sheriff, 2 of the players that helped them get that win. Of course, we talked about the goal by Jessica Garziano, but it was also some lineup shakeup that helped them turn a corner, essentially. And that confidence boost of giving up a goal early, coming back to tie the game up for half, and then winning it with a game win in the second, you can see winning does help. It's contagious. Success is contagious. And after 4 winless games, kind of feels like this team has a little bit more of an edge to them, even in this early going today.
Yeah, that mojo they found on Wednesday trickling over to Sunday. Confidence, the offensive energy, definitely there this afternoon.
Yeah, you look at the fact this is a team that has 4 wins, and they just got their 4th win Wednesday after an incredible start, things kind of plateaued a little bit for Brooklyn, and they hit a bit of a rough patch. And that's going to happen, especially in the early goings of a season. So for this group, with how many games they've played back-to-back, 2 games a week, I should say, in such a quick turnaround, I think it actually almost sometimes helps too, that there's no time to think about that last result. You get right back out there, then a few days later, get back to work and see if you can right the wrong. So as much as might physically wear on them to have some games in close succession, it might actually be helping them just to kind of get all the rust and all the cobwebs and kinks out early on.
Absolutely. And sometimes you don't need all the time to think,
Correct.
right? Just look to the next game. Brooklyn continues the pressure up front. Allison Pantuso getting up into the action. Now here comes Fort Lauderdale and Addie McCain. She tries to slot this ball through, but the defense for Brooklyn coming up strong here 23 minutes in.
They absolutely are, and they knew that there was going to be a lot of work on their back line to be able to contain Fort Lauderdale's attacking prowess. We've talked about players, Shania Gordon, Cheyenne Allen. We've talked about what their front line can bring. Addison McCain, of course, league-leading goal scorer. So they knew there was a lot that they were going to have to manage today, and so far, they're handling the call well.
Great settle from Mackenzie George. Quick movement from Brooklyn. Here comes Sasha Pickard. George making the run on the near side, and too much pace on that ball. A roll out of bounds for a Fort Lauderdale goal kick.
That's unfortunate. It was a great switch at the point of attack to be able to find Sasha Pickard making the overlapping run to try to connect up front. Just a heavy pass into George. Those are the types of plays that if you're able to make that pass, find Mackenzie George who can get a service, a cross, a corner, something out of that versus it being a goal kick in favor of Fort Lauderdale. Those are the types of moments that can drastically help keep your momentum in your favor.
Jess Garziano, we know what she can do in front of net in terms of scoring goals, but I think one of her most underrated abilities is just how quickly she's able to move the ball and how accurate her passing is. She's sitting back as more of an attacking central midfielder, and I think the way she's able to navigate that center part of the field is quite impressive and does a lot for this Brooklyn team.
Yeah, she's another one that's around, I think, around 71% for her passing accuracy. It's not just scoring goals. She really does a good job linking play and finding the ball at her feet to be able to help them build up the field, which is very important.
Fort Lauderdale getting back to face up against Mackenzie George. She plays it to Sasha Pickard. Another corner kick on the way for Brooklyn.
For Brooklyn, who have now four shots they've been able to set up. And already, when you look at the corners, the crosses, the chance, another corner kick coming here. That's exactly what they've been trying to get their offense to produce. Now they've got to produce that threatening chance on goal.
Sam Kroger pulls Pluck back. Pluck takes a shot, headed out by Fort Lauderdale. Back in. This ball cleared out on the far side. But another dangerous opportunity on a set piece for Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's a great ball in by Pluck to just drive that one into the 6. The first one gets headed away by Vaca, and then it's bouncing around. Everyone trying to see if they can get enough mustard on it. Just cleared away by Fort Lauderdale. The pressure is on, though. Brooklyn continues to keep the attack going, and as we're even highlighting one previous dangerous chance, here they come again with another. Garziano involved in that one.
On that initial ball in from Pluck, Mackenzie George looked like she was right in the sweet spot, flying in, just goes over her head. Mackenzie Pluck will be on the corner kick here for Brooklyn. Opt for the short pass. Kroger outside the box, sends it in! And Sam Kroger finds the back of the net for Brooklyn. Her first goal of the season.
And here comes the celebration.
Goal scored by AR.
And In honor of the World Series, Kroger hits the home run. Maybe it's a grand slam, but for Mackenzie Pluck to be able to tee up a beautiful ball in, find Samantha Kroger. What a great way to capitalize. Brooklyn's been knocking on the door, and this set piece was the difference. Pluck to Kroger, the back of the net, a beautiful shot. Opens up her first touch, gets her hips around it, lots of open green to be able to find that back corner, drives it in the back post, and there's nothing McKenna Gottschalk or any goalkeeper really can do for that one. Just put so much pace and perfect precision on it. And then the celebration, you've got to love that.
You're a head coach. You are circling that on film and showing it to every single one of your players in terms of what a good first touch looks like. Sam Kroger set herself up beautifully there for her first goal of the season. Jess Silva told us earlier in the year that Sam Kroger is the key to everything that we do with this Brooklyn team. She's a mainstay in the midfield for this group, playing more of that holding center mid. And there she's able to get in on the action herself. Just a beauty of a goal to put Brooklyn up 1-0.
And honestly, the key when you are struggling to score goals, I always say it does come down to the little things. Your prep touch, being ready to shoot, also just having the confidence and conviction when you are taking that shot. And Kroger had all of that down to a T. You can see from the moment she checked to show for that short corner, as you mentioned, the prep touch she had to open up with her body to face goal. All the little things aligned perfectly for Sam Kroger to be able to get that finish. And also for a team that has been generating so many chances, so important that they were able to put one away early on.
Fort Lauderdale picks this ball off deep in the half for Brooklyn. Ball played across, headed out.
Talk about the activity of Kroger, who has the goal. Well, what about the assist player in Mackenzie Pluck? She's just brought down there. Pluck has been all over the pitch. I actually coached Mackenzie Pluck years ago when I was in college, and she was 11, 12 years old. And she has really been such a mainstay for this team of always on the ball, always finding it. Also another player that's helping them combine the link play, gets brought down there on the foul. But another one that pairs so well with Kroger in the midfield of just being able to help this team bridge the gap. So it's not always back to front, but your midfield is actively involved in connecting play.
Restart for Brooklyn. Mackenzie George plays it across, and another goal for Brooklyn. It's Dana Sheriff. And another baseball reference there. What a finish for Brooklyn.
Yeah, you take a look at this build-up down out on the right side. Beautiful ball in by Sasha Packard, able to slice it across by Mackenzie George, and then just finishing her run is Dana Sheriff. That's a great team goal. The timing of the runs from start to finish, everyone finished their runs all the way through. And you love to see how many players were involved in that. That's 3-4 players, if you take it all the way back, involved in that build-up. Brooklyn with 2 great goals in a tight succession there as well. That's exactly how you want to make sure to capitalize and strike while the iron is hot.
Dana Sheriff, this is just her second start of the season. She was one of those players we mentioned that Jess Silva brought into the lineup to switch up the attack, get some goals going for this Brooklyn team. And in her second start, she's got her second goal.
Also now that's 2 goals in a matter of minutes, and Brooklyn brought out the baseball-themed celebration. I think the 2 goals are trying to help get the mojo going for their New York Yankees, who are down 0-2, but we won't talk about that right now. Sorry to Yankees fans.
Looks like we're gonna have a foul called here by Thomas Snyder back in Brooklyn's half of the field. So a quick start offensively for Brooklyn as they lead 2-0 here in the first half, 33 minutes in. This was a group that got off to a hot start early in their Super League season in the fall calendar. They took a bit of a dip there for a moment, and here they are scoring goals once again.
Well, head coach Jess Silva said they have something to prove. They were not happy with how they played against Fort Lauderdale last time. They felt technically they were off. They were overwhelmed. They weren't getting enough chances. Well, today they have flipped the script. You have to be encouraged by how they start off today. With something to prove, well, scoring 2 goals in the first half and still on the attack is a great way to prove that that game to Fort Lauderdale last time was not who they are as a club.
Select is the official match ball supplier of the USL Super League and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit us.select-sport.com for the latest Select product specials and more. Select, the player's choice. Ball narrowly picked off by Fort Lauderdale just outside the top of the 18. Ball played forward. Dana Sheriff, Lavinie Vaca. Played back to Gottschalk.
Yeah, if you're Fort Lauderdale now, you have got to find a way to string something together to close out this first half. 2-0 is, as we know, a very dangerous score in soccer, especially with over a half left to play. They haven't been able to generate a single shot, corner, anything offensively. So that's something that after conceding 2 goals in such a close time, they have to figure out a way to get something going on the offensive end. They're just under a lot of pressure defensively to start off this game.
Bouncing ball sent back to Gottschalk. Ball played forward, and you can tell what Fort Lauderdale is trying to do here. They're trying to target those wide spaces, but it's become predictable at this point for Brooklyn's outside backs.
It's too much back to front, and actually Brooklyn's doing a good job of doing the opposite. You have to be able to mix it up. Sometimes your backs can look to find your forward line, but sometimes you need to build up through your mids. It just gives you time to get up the field as a team. Now you can, with each pass, slowly get your line higher, slowly find some width, like they're doing right now. Make the small passes, and then that big pass should be on.
Fort Lauderdale just trying to find some sort of opportunity in the final third. They saw some success early on this near side with Cheyenne Allen. Then we saw Shania Gordon switch over to this side. It felt as though in the early goings that there was definitely a target going to this near sideline. They were having some success with it, but they continue to try and slot balls through the far side flank.
Yes, and they need to find a way to make some adjustments, and quickly, because with 2 goals given up in a matter of 3 minutes, and trying to make sure you don't give up goal number 3. Fort Lauderdale has to get something going to be able to keep possession. Possession is actually pretty even though it doesn't seem that way statistically right now. But they haven't been able to get anything going on their half of the field.
Ball won by Brooklyn. Pickard waiting for some help. She plays it out of bounds. throw-in coming for Fort Lauderdale.
You look at that play defensively again, Sasha Picker, just a good job double teaming. That's a type of energy of just the work rates, making sure you're pressuring everything Brooklyn has. Fort Lauderdale has to bring more of that defensive work rate.
Ball played way forward, trying to find Cheyenne Allen. Cheyenne Allen in the shadows. Cameron Brooks plays it in. This ball bouncing just outside the top of the 18. Pluck trying to use her moves to get out of it. Fort Lauderdale trying to find any seam, any open space. Brooklyn has been there every step of the way. Addie McCain gets a toe on it to the far side. Sent across, and an easy scoop for Sydney Martinez, whose name we haven't said a whole that much today, and that speaks to the limited opportunities Fort Lauderdale has been able to create.
Martinez has not had to do much, and honestly for Fort Lauderdale, that all started on the defensive side, pressuring the midfield, making sure to close down players like Daria Raji, making sure her and their midfield group is exactly doing what you're seeing here, working to win the ball back, and now they are winning it higher up the field.
It's almost a mirror of what Brooklyn has been doing so far in this match. Now Fort Lauderdale tries the same as they're pushed up deep into Brooklyn's half of the field. Dana Sheriff. How about those touches on the far side? Taylor Smith.
Well, this is a much more encouraging possession for Fort Lauderdale. You look at how they've responded after giving up that second goal, and they're bringing a little bit more edge. You have to compete. You have to work to win 50 balls. And then when you win it, as we're seeing here, getting forward off of it.
Ball played across, right in the hands of Sydney Martinez.
So Martinez now has had some more touches, although none of them are truly threatening chances. These are the only chances we've really seen so far from Fort Lauderdale since that flurry of opportunities down the left flank earlier off of players like Cheyenne Allen.
As we enter the 40th minute here at Rocco B. Camiso Stadium, Brooklyn up 2-0. Here on this gorgeous Sunday afternoon in the Big Apple. Goals from Sam Kroger and Dana Sheriff lead the way for Brooklyn. Fort Lauderdale looking to get back in this one. Searching for their 4th win of the season. Coming off a loss to Lexington last week. Kenzie Pluck on the ball. Can't watch the match? Turn on Sirius XM FC 157, North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk, including live matches from the USL Super League. Visit uslsuperleague.com/SiriusXM to view the schedule.
Well, the big difference that we're seeing is right now Brooklyn's doing a better job presenting options when they do win it. It does feel like it's taking Fort Lauderdale a bit too long to transition and release once they win it into open space.
Emily Yapel taking it herself, trying to get an open touch. Mackenzie George gets hung up in the box, and Fort Lauderdale will narrowly escape yet another dangerous opportunity for Brooklyn.
They barely got out of that one. It was about a touch off from this being a 3-0 game. Emily Yapel does a good job just slicing through the Fort Lauderdale defense. Fortunately, Brooklyn wasn't ready to shoot and able to get a shot off there.
As two former attacking players ourselves, I think those moments are so exciting, right? And I love the way Brooklyn is selfish with the ball in the best way when it comes to the box. Ball played forward, sent high over the net.
Yes, and that is something that they've been looking to make sure to find the balance of. Sometimes it's on to make the extra pass. Sometimes you just have to go ahead and take the shot yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. So being able to pick and choose your moments and sometimes just kind of putting your head down and going. And on that last one, Emily Yapel almost able to do just that.
Loads of space in the central midfield for Sam Kroger. Brooklyn taking their time as the clock winds down here in the first half. Quick passing for Brooklyn on the far side. Fort Lauderdale just trying to get it out of their half. With the way Brooklyn presses, it forces teams to be perfect defensively, trying to get the ball out of the back.
Yes, and that's something Fort Lauderdale spoke with us about prior to this game, that they knew they were going to have to be better at how they were transitioning, because you don't want to give Brooklyn time to get organized and get their shape. As we see, once they do, it's tough to find some penetrating passes and spaces to get into. So needing to be better at having that quick transition, and Fort Lauderdale right now struggling to find any answers.
For Brooklyn, it's one thing to have one player pressing, right? But they've got Jess Garziano, Mackenzie George. As you can see here, they get it. Mackenzie George turns, tries to shoot. Dana Sheriff. Tess Gottschalk once again. And it's the fact that Brooklyn has multiple players in the right spots ready to jump at any given ball. That's what is the difference maker.
And this is the key when you look at how Brooklyn is attacking. It started with the defensive side. They win it back in a higher position, and then Mackenzie George's first shot is blocked by Vaca and then falls perfectly to the feet of teammates Jess Garziano, because they're putting numbers in the dangerous areas. And when you're able to have so many players forward, it's a swarming defense that leads to a swarming attack of having black jerseys throughout in an area ready to try to finish.
Ball played into the box. Sheriff gets a head on it. Kroger gets it at the top of the box. Kroger takes a shot deflected. And there's a player on the ground for Brooklyn in the box. Two minutes of stoppage time added here in this first half, but Dana Sheriff down in the box for Brooklyn. She was the player that got that initial head on the ball. Renee, what do you see here?
Yeah, that's concerning. And I'm not sure if there was contact from someone else or if she headed the ball wrong, but it was a very awkward way that she went to approach the ball. And when you look at Dana Sheriff, she immediately dropped down afterwards, which was concerning. And here's when you look back, the service in by Pluck, and then Sheriff doesn't really, you see the response there, pauses for a moment, kind of looks around. You don't really see an initial contact off of Gottschalk or anybody else with her head, but I think she may have actually headed the ball incorrectly. And sometimes when we know when you hit the ball off the wrong part of your head, especially with the pace that it's coming at you off of the corner kick, that definitely hurts.
Certainly my least favorite part of soccer was heading the ball.
Oh,
I will
loved it.
say that. A tale of two different players here.
Yes, yes. Also 5'11" versus
Yeah,
5'2".
5'2".
So our roles were a little different on the aerial
I
ball
wasn't
game.
heading the ball much. We'll just say that.
And sometimes the player, you do just hit the ball. No matter how many head balls you do, every once in a while, it's a stinger. It hurts. So Dana Sheriff there getting tended to. Good to make sure she's okay.
Well, let's take a look back at Dana Sheriff's goal early in this first half. She scored in the 32nd minute, and it was a great build-up from Brooklyn.
It was nice down that right side. Sasha Pickard slots it forward to find Mackenzie George, and the early service into the box. Look at this work rate by George to track this down, keep it in bounds, and then plays it across the box, out of the reach of McKenna Gottschalk, and out of the reach of both defenders for Fort Lauderdale, but perfectly to her teammate as Dana Sheriff was able to tuck that one home. Just a gutsy play all the way through. It was quick, no hesitation, as Brooklyn got forward and finished that play out.
Looks like Dana Sheriff is up and moving. And in that time that Sheriff was down, something to note, Shania Gordon, number 11 for Fort Lauderdale United, now in a different uniform. Number 88 is the number she's wearing now. I believe there was some blood on the jersey they needed to take care of.
So in the final seconds of this first half, we have an injury stoppage. We also have blood on the jersey, so some chaos to end this first half a little bit.
And it hasn't been an aggressive
It
match
has not.
by any means, so those two instances. We've got a substitution in here now for Brooklyn.
Substitutions for Brooklyn FC. Entering the match, this is the 23, Luana Gaviras. She replaces number 8,
I believe that's number 23, Luana Grabias, now in for Dana Sheriff. Fort Lauderdale keeps possession here, but not without some pressure from Brooklyn as this first half winds down.
Well, stoppage time has now definitely been extended with the stoppage for Dana Sheriff's injury. So it does give one more opportunity. If you're Brooklyn, you just want to see this one through. You obviously do not need to force it forward for another goal, but you just want to make sure not to give up anything. Whereas Fort Lauderdale is hoping to get one more chance to see if they can have some sort of momentum, and with that whistle, that'll be it.
That's a wrap on the first half here from Rocco B. Camiso Stadium. Brooklyn FC out to the early lead with goals from Sam Kroger and Dana Sheriff. Sam Kroger with her first goal of the season. She started and played every minute of the 9 matches so far this season for Brooklyn, and Dana Sheriff goes down late in the half, but scores her second goal and her second start for Brooklyn.
Just a fantastic job by Brooklyn FC to execute. That's both goals in a 3-minute span that they were able to finish. And from the opening whistle, they were the better of the two teams, created more opportunities. And an encouraging point, as something they've been working on, is to put those chances away when they got them. So well done by them to be able to have a game building off of Wednesday's game where they can noticeably see the changes in how they're executing in the final third.
When it comes to that Dana Sheriff goal, Jess Silva told us earlier this week, she goes, I'm just so proud of her and Emily Yapel. They got their first starts of the season back on Wednesday, and now Dana Sheriff getting on the scoreboard once again. Hopefully she's okay after she left due to injury. All right, well, we're joined now by Sam Kroger for Brooklyn FC. Sam, you get your first goal of the season. How'd it feel to find the back of the net on that beauty?
It's been good. Feeling really great, feeling healthy. Thanks to the team to help me out for the goal. So yeah, just keep the momentum going. It's been a long time coming, so I'm excited for it.
And Sam, after your goal, just moments later, Dana Sheriff gets on the scoreboard as well to give you guys an insurance goal. What did you like most about this first half and how you guys were clinical and executing in the final third?
Yeah, I think that, that was our focus for this past week. We've been kind of struggling getting in the final third and finishing our chances, so I think that's also been a long time coming, and yeah, we've been working really hard, so props to Dana for getting in the box and continuing her run to finish it off.
Sam, thanks so much for the time. We'll let you get back to the locker room. We're looking forward to this second half.
Thanks, guys.
That's Sam Kroger getting her first goal of the season. Brooklyn FC looking to defend their home turf for a second time this week in Week 11 of the USL Super League. We've got more coming your way at the break. Don't go anywhere.
Hearts. No two beat the same. So we built a team of the best heart surgeons, pioneers of the most modern techniques, who always find the one approach that's best for you. But while each surgery is unique, the outcome is the same: the highest success rates. NYU Langone Health.
New flavors. The same traditions. Be the guest of honor. Add more flavor to your parties. El Jimador. Spiked bebidas.
This is the beginning. This is a first practice, a first video session, a first pregame talk. This is a first ticket, a first scarf raise, a first kickoff. This is a tapestry of clubs and players and communities inspired by those who blazed the trail for women's sports, ready to inspire the next generation. We are the USL Super League. We're part of a movement, and this is our moment.
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
When mosquitoes show up, so do we. Terminix it.
Pain doesn't care who you are or why you hurt, but pain can be mastered if you know the way. Fight back with Tiger Balm's legendary herbal power. Trusted for over 100 years, our proven blend of camphor, menthol, and essential oils tames pain with the strength and speed of the tiger, so that you can rise above pain and get back to living. This is the way of the tiger.
Is it somebody's birthday? Dad, come watch us hit this ugly piñata. Dad!
When Hornets show up, so do we. Terminix it.
2-0 at halftime. Brooklyn FC looking to pick up their 5th win of the season, their 2nd straight at home, thanks to goals from Sam Kroger and Dana Sheriff in the first half. Let's take a look around the USL Super League. 8 players have been called up to the national teams, and it's an exciting time for these players. Renee.
Yes, it absolutely is. I mean, for their teams, they're going to be without them for a short time, but it's great to see these players get to represent their countries. Argentina, Costa Rica, Haiti, Morocco, just so many different countries that are going to be represented in this call-up.
Yeah, as Joe Johnson, head coach for Spokane, told us yesterday, it's a bittersweet time for them as coaches, right? They want them on their squads, but an exciting time for those players. Well, it's been an exciting week 11 in the USL Super League. On Wednesday, Brooklyn picked up a win over Tampa Bay Sun. On Friday, we saw a lot of goals scored. DC Power picking up a win. And then on Friday as well, in the nightcap, it was a tie between Carolina Ascent and Dallas Trinity. And we've got another game coming up this afternoon, Renee. Tampa and Spokane, an exciting one on tap once more this afternoon.
Yes, we've seen 2 has been the magic number. No clean sheets and more to come tonight as Spokane's looking for their first win in over a month back at home.
Well, we're excited for it. We're looking forward to this second half here in New York. Brooklyn up 2 over Fort Lauderdale. A lively afternoon here in New York City at Rocco B. Camiso Stadium, and the scoring started in the 28th minute for Brooklyn. It was Sam Kroger with the beauty of a first touch, putting it in the back of the net for Brooklyn.
Well, head coach Jeff Silva wanted them to be more clinical in their execution on set pieces, and they did exactly that. Plucked to Kroger to the back of the net, and then 3 minutes later, down the right side in the run of play, able to find on the right side Sasha Pickard, who slots it forward to find Mackenzie George. A quick early service, end line by George. Great run here to time it well by Dana Sheriff to toe poke this one home and gives them the insurance goal. Nice team build-up by Brooklyn, and with the amount of chances they generated, well done for them to put 2 of them in the back of the net.
Well, taking a look at the halftime stats now, one that stood out to me was the final third entries, right? Talking with associate head coach Allie Rogers for Fort Lauderdale, she said, you know, it's the difference today between penetration and possession for this Fort Lauderdale team. Fort Lauderdale had 21 final third entries compared to Brooklyn's 28, so not that much of a difference. However, not that many, well, not any shots or shots on target.
Yeah, the key thing about the halftime stats, zeros across the board for everything that's important. And of course, goals, 0 shots, 0 corners, whereas Brooklyn generated a lot more with their 10 shots in the first half, 6 of them on target. So huge difference in what we're seeing in the final third.
They've split the possession, but again, just a matter of what they're able to do in front of goal. If you're a Fort Lauderdale fan, hopefully that can change here in this second half. We've got second half coming your way right after this.
Some adjustments after not only conceding 2 goals, but did not generate anything. We talked about the stats at the break. They haven't really been able to put any sort of mark on this game. They've been sitting back defensively under a lot of pressure. So with some halftime substitutions and some opportunity to talk things over, we'll see what they bring out to go up against Brooklyn. And Brooklyn on the other side, I'm sure have to be pleased with that first half, and we'll see if they can continue to maintain that level.
Looks like Isabel Cox is going to come onto the pitch for Brooklyn. Cox has 2 goals on the season, has started in 7 games, played over 640 minutes. As we get set for the second half here, a couple of changes for Fort Lauderdale as well. We'll get to those in a moment, but Fort Lauderdale with the ball here. Brooklyn gets the ball, tries to send it forward.
Substitution for Brooklyn for 46 minutes. Entering the match is number 13, Isabel Cobbs. She replaces number 21, Emily Yoder.
Addie McCain plays it forward.
Entering the match is number 7, Nala Christopher. She replaces number 3, Sharon Allen.
Fort Lauderdale works it around the back.
She replaces number 17, Ishara Hamid.
Fort Lauderdale adds here in the second half, Nia Christopher and Felicia Knox, and here comes Brooklyn.
Well, already we're seeing Brooklyn trying to get forward from the opening whistle. You want to make sure after having success Wednesday and success in this first, they like the second half of Wednesday's game, and you have to like the first half of today's game. So you want to continue that into half number 2 today to continue to build off of.
With her right now.
That's why goalkeeping was the position I could not do. Every other position was fine. That one was not for me.
So another corner kick here for Brooklyn. They opt for the short pass this time. Kroger to Pluck. Pluck plays it in. Almost an exact replica of the play we saw that resulted in a goal from Sam Kroger.
Well, we're reversing the tables here as now Kroger able to find Pluck. This time Fort Lauderdale was a little bit more prepared for that short, did pressure and close down Mackenzie Pluck, but well done by Mackenzie Pluck, poised on the ball, still able to get her shot off from the corner of the 18.
Staying in the game for Brooklyn after a late substitution for Dana Sheriff is Luana Grabias. And how about this? She was the first ever club-to-club transfer in the USL Super League. She started off the season on the roster for Fort Lauderdale United.
Yeah, so now gets an opportunity here for Luana to stay out there and show what she's got up against her former club. It's always a little bit of extra, I feel like, excitement, but also maybe an opportunity to show what they missed.
Exactly.
When you move on to a different team, regardless why you move on to a different team.
Just some added juice to the game.
This is where Fort Lauderdale has struggled on their build-up, trying to combine with a 3-player combination through the midfield there, but their passes have been off the mark. Some turnovers they've had that have allowed Brooklyn to just maintain control of this game, having to make sure when you win it, when you clear it, you're connecting those passes, otherwise you're chasing again.
Isabel Cox plays it to Sam Kroger. Kroger to Garziano. A great turn. Mackenzie George plays it to the far side, ball in. Cleared out by Fort Lauderdale. Addie McCain tries to get a touch on it, loses it in the midfield. Pluck picks it up.
Well done again by Brooklyn to just continue to stifle any transition attempts by Fort Lauderdale. Their back line has been anticipating so well as their midfielders, to be able to cut off any passing options.
Unrelenting pressure from this Brooklyn side. Here comes Pluck, and miscommunication between Pluck and Cox, but it was shaping up to be another opportunity for this Brooklyn side. Addie McCain plays it to the far side. Lauderdale gets a chance in front of goal. Sydney Martinez picks it up.
Well done off of the switch by Addie McCain, working 1v1 out wide, and then just up against Pickard, it's Shania Gordon, back in her number 11 jersey, who was able to get a strong look on frame against Sydney Martinez. You like the connection there by Fort Lauderdale, though, being able to switch the point of attack, isolate Gordon 1v1.
Where we saw those looks in the first half get picked off by Brooklyn. That was one that was able to trickle past and created an opportunity for Fort Lauderdale. Felicia Knox back in the midfield for Fort Lauderdale United.
Well, this is the key, as you mentioned, the difference. When you are able to connect passes, you can now build off of that. It allows you to get your shape offensively. It allows you to get a rhythm going. Fort Lauderdale has struggled to just keep their possession.
Here comes Grabias. Great passing from Brooklyn. She's getting touches at the top of the box and loses it. Felicia Knox plays this ball forward, but Sydney Martinez comes way off of her line. Week 11 of the USL Super League rolls on this evening as Spokane Zephyr plays Tampa Bay Sun. Tampa Bay made the cross-country trek from Brooklyn all the way out to Spokane. They'll play right here on Peacock at 5 p.m. Eastern tonight. Pluck plays it forward. Gottschalk outside the box and shoots it out of bounds as George comes pressing hard.
Well, we saw Sydney Martinez do the same thing on the other end moments ago. This time it's McKenna Gottschalk. Both times, keepers just very heads-up play to be alert, as that was a heavy ball played in that, had Gottschalk not been off her line, does allow Fort Lauderdale to face up and attack goal. So nicely done, and now give her teammates time to just organize and defend well for Fort Lauderdale to defend Brooklyn here.
Pluck trying to weave her way around the back line of Fort Lauderdale, loses the ball, and it'll be a goal kick for Fort Lauderdale.
And that's exactly why McKenna Gottschalk's heads-up play to just kick that one out of bounds is exactly what you needed. It gave Fort Lauderdale time to set up defensively and to make sure they can get numbers back, win the ball, and now see if they can build forward.
Fort Lauderdale makes their way up the pitch. Brooklyn was pressed incredibly high. And a ball through from Addie McCain, and Shania Gordon will be waved offside.
Well, we've seen a couple of those opportunities now, especially with Addie McCain drifting back into the midfield to find the ball at her feet. Just pulls a Brooklyn defender with her to open up a seam for her to be able to switch through. Those diagonals are on, and we've seen a couple of chances now they've tried to find Shania Gordon. Of course, the one time did find her for the shots. The other, Sydney Martinez, was able to clean up, that time offside. So that's 3 in a row that we've seen of McCain looking to switch the field and find Gordon. We'll see if Brooklyn's able to make any adjustments through Pickard and that backside.
Yeah, already they've found a lot more space in between this Brooklyn back line than we saw in the first half. Mackenzie Pluck getting tended to by the training staff. Grabias checking back. Fort Lauderdale trying to make something happen off gaining possession. Now here comes Brooklyn. Grabias, 1v1. Plays it across the top of the box. George on the ball, plays it in! George puts Brooklyn up 3-0 here in this second half.
Another great goal by Brooklyn of just being patient in the final third. It starts with Luana Grabia, strong on the ball here, able to work top of the box, and then just a heads-up play to see a trailing runner in Mackenzie George. George then composed, takes her touch around Cameron Brooks to be able to put this one away. That's a great ball, top of the box from Grabias to George, and then you just like the composure there by Mackenzie George with Cameron Brooks on her, takes her time, creates enough space and separation to find a pocket to be able to drive the ball back post into.
Yeah, that was not an easy angle looking back there at those replays for Mackenzie George to get a shot off. But she does and picks up her second goal of the season. And I had to double check my stats there because I'm shocked that it's only her second goal of the year considering how often she's involved with this Brooklyn offense.
Yes, well, the reality is for Brooklyn, as they now sit on 3 goals on the day, this is a team that came into today with a total of just 8 goals scored as a team. So they've had players in the mix around the goal. They just have not been able to finish consistently. They do lead the league in shots coming into today. And so for them, it hasn't been for lack of trying. They just haven't been able to finish. Well, today they're definitely making the most of their chances when they get them.
This is Brooklyn's highest scoring game of the season so far. So for a team that was struggling offensively, struggling for shots on goal, this is exactly what you're looking for if you're Jess Silva. And we have to point out once again, the schedule that Brooklyn has had, playing nearly 2 games every week for the last month. The fact that this team is having the output that they are, this week alone, already scoring 5 goals this week. Beyond impressive. Hats off to this Brooklyn squad.
Yes, and I honestly think it is a testament to their resilience to be able to bounce back and respond. And when you look at the slate they had of 4 winless games, they know that they needed to figure things out offensively. They felt like defensively, as head coach Jess Silva mentioned, they were doing a good job. It was on the other end of the field. I'll pause that for a moment. As you talk about the highest scoring game, they did of course have 2 goals in their comeback win on Wednesday against Tampa Bay. Prior to that, they've only scored 2 goals in one other game this season. That was back on September 25th against Dallas in a 2-0 win. This team has been, it's been a lot of ties, 1-goal games. They haven't been able to get that insurance goal, and today they were able to get the insurance goal and an extra so far in this one. Have to be pleased with how they're taking strides in the right direction offensively.
Well, and from the jump, from first whistle here today, they've dictated possession. And that was something that Jess Silva said was going to be mandatory if they wanted to get off on the right foot today. And looking back at their last meeting, she just felt like they were technically off that game, got overwhelmed very quickly. Certainly not the case today.
Not at all. They've definitely been a lot more composed. I mean, you even look at that 3rd goal that Mackenzie George scored off of the feed from Grabias. Just composure, patience in the final third right now. They're not forcing it forward. They're letting it develop.
Pluck gets it outside the top of the 18. Plays it out to Scarpelli. Scarpelli loops one in. Right to Gottschalk.
Although not a great shot from Scarpelli on the final look for Brooklyn, they had that possession for a significant amount of time that they kept the ball at their feet, just working it around, finding their mids, finding their forwards, making the extra pass, playing the way they're facing to set up for that final look. Just continuing to not only create opportunities, but giving quicker options. I think that's the difference in this game, Bridget. Fort Lauderdale has been struggling to have those quick options that they can simply connect to.
Alicia Knox plays it up top to Nia Christopher. Addie McCain sitting on the ball, tries to find Knox. Brooklyn comes up with it once again. They move forward with numbers. Garziano trying to slot it through to Grabias.
Look at how many players Brooklyn is getting around the ball, especially once they win it, doing a better job in transition. Again, that's something that they've been harping on, and you see it here playing out. As soon as they win it, they're finding some width. Their forwards are stretching them higher. They're giving quicker options.
Long ball headed back by Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale went on a little bit of a run themselves late September into early October, winning 3 straight games. And we talked to Allie Rogers about what the common thread was amongst those winning games for them. And she said, you know, it was the girls learning to trust one another. They were trying to establish who they wanted to be, as is every team in this league, but that progression came because of the girls trusting one another, and it was evident that they want to build. But for a team to be able to build out of the back, you have to trust one another. And today, I don't think that trust is lacking. I just think Brooklyn has been able to put so much pressure on this team. They've been forced to be perfect.
Yes, and I think something that Fort Lauderdale is working through is that they're still trying to figure things out. One of the areas that they're trying to figure out is on their outside back rotation. I know that's something that Rogers mentioned as well. So defensively, I think that you can point to as a big difference. Brooklyn feels like they have an idea of their defensive identity, and Fort Lauderdale is still trying to figure that out. I'm not putting this on their outside back specifically, but when you're still trying to mix and match, and as they mentioned, still putting the pieces together with some of their rotations, you can see some of that disconnect in how they are playing, that they're not on the same page at times. So still absolutely figuring out those pieces of their best combinations and their best looks throughout.
The flurry of substitutions look to step on here in just a moment. Fort Lauderdale, Felicia Knox will get fouled as she tries to take it forward.
Well, Knox, since entering the match, has been very active in the midfield for them. That is something that Fort Lauderdale's been looking for, just the fluidity in their midfield. They've talked about coming into today. They felt like they struggled with that against Lexington, of just being too direct at times and forcing opportunities. It does feel like since Knox has come into the game, I can see the difference of them having a little bit more patience in their build-up to be able to play through her and their midfielders.
As we briefly mentioned earlier, a number of substitutions coming on. Samantha Rosette, the Bronx native, coming on for Mackenzie George. Kess Elmore will step on for Brooklyn for Jess Garziano. Getting action now in her second game of the season. Felicia Knox stands over this ball, plays it into the box towards the backside, and just misses the head of Addie McCain. Daria Raji will step out. Anele Kamani now on for Fort Lauderdale. And Erica Gomes steps on for Shania Gordon. Luana Grabias taking it herself, trying to target Samantha Rosette, who just stepped on for Brooklyn.
I think this is a good opportunity for both sides to get in some players. Of course, Brooklyn, you're sitting on a 3-0 lead. No need to overextend anybody, especially with the quick turnaround from a Wednesday game. Whereas for Fort Lauderdale in their first action in a week, you still are, as we talk about, trying to figure out pieces. So give an opportunity to some other players to see what they can add and provide. And these are those minutes where players sometimes can see themselves earn more minutes or earn a bigger role within the lineup.
Mackenzie Pluck finds Isabel Cox. Cox trying to create space. Fort Lauderdale able to clear it. Quick passing from Fort Lauderdale between Erica Gomes and Nia Christopher.
Yeah, and it starts just on the defensive end, being relentless to clear that ball out by Celia Gaynor. They then find on the outlet pass, find Christopher up that right flank, connecting your clearances, connecting your passes out the back. Unfortunately, Gomes and Christopher weren't exactly able to connect on that 1-2 punch, but the idea was there.
Fort Lauderdale coming into this game knew that because Brooklyn's outside backs get so far into the attack that it could be a potential space where they could get into then in transition, and that's where we've seen most of their success come from so far in this match, is getting into those wide spaces, beating those outside backs who maybe were pushed up a little more to get into the attack for Brooklyn.
Yes, and that's the key. They wanted to try to find Brooklyn unbalanced before they were able to get organized defensively. I think, unfortunately, for Fort Lauderdale, they've tried to do that a bit too much at times and forcing it into those wide spaces. You have to make sure to play it when it's on. If it's not, you have to have the composure and confidence to build out another way. And it does feel like they're figuring that out a little bit more in this second half of versatility in their transition play.
Free kick sent in, and an easy save and pickup for Sydney Martinez. Every Wednesday, listen to USL Super League Game Week, a deep dive into all things Super League with hosts Marion Crowder and Anna Whitty. Follow along all season on the Sirius XM app. Yeah, we got to give a shout out to Marion and Anna. They do a great job every week highlighting all the things going around the USL Super League.
Yes, they absolutely have been fantastic in providing the additional coverage and content that helps amplify and highlight the players and teams. So many great storylines and players, and you want to make sure to give them the credit they deserve to also get the coverage they deserve as well.
Scarpelli trying to get in on all the fun up top. But a throw in now for Fort Lauderdale.
We have seen, it does feel like a little bit of a change defensively for Fort Lauderdale. It feels like their back line shape has tweaked a little, with Baca getting higher and wider at times, much more central in the first half. So she's been on this right flank more often. I know Sabrina McNeil is still out there, of course, as well. Maybe it was just a temporary change.
Well, Anele Kamani also sitting back a little deeper as well.
Yeah, and it might be a little bit of a difference of just how they wanted to present their back line.
Felicia Knox sends it in. Sydney Martinez loses it, and Knox puts Fort Lauderdale on the board off the free kick.
And you look at this chance here off this set piece, as Fort Lauderdale finally gets on the scoreboard, the shot from distance, and you just look at that again. Sydney Martinez just loses the ball. Listen, it is a very sunny day out here, and for Knox, who we talked about coming in, making an impact in this second half, that's the biggest impact she possibly could have made, as Fort Lauderdale's been looking for something, some sort of an answer, and it's Felicia Knox that's able to get one for them. You can see Martinez again covering her eyes. The sun is beating perfectly in her face, making it difficult to see.
Felicia Knox picks up her first goal of the season. The former Alabama star, Shawnee Kansas, was a 2022 All-American and the SEC Midfielder of the Year. So scoring goals isn't new to Felicia Knox, but in the Super League it is, and That has to be a weight off your chest, getting that first one to find the back of the net.
Yes, and a weight off the chest of Fort Lauderdale overall, as we've been talking about their struggles offensively to generate chances. You have to continue to put the pressure on, and now knowing that the sun is possibly blinding Sydney Martinez, which is where it's sitting currently, I think if you're Fort Lauderdale, you're trying to take a page out of Felicia Knox's book, just put everything on frame with pace and see if you can get another.
Certainly something I would imagine they look to exploit for the remainder of this second half. A foul called. Brooklyn's half of the field. Will be a free kick for Brooklyn. The inaugural USL Super League season has officially begun. Visit USLSuperLeague.com for all the latest information, analysis, and insight into all things Super League. Pickard on the far side finds Grabias. And a collision in the midfield. No call from our head official, Thomas Snyder.
Brooklyn not happy with that one, as Mackenzie Pluck gets brought down, was slow to get up. There still is a good amount of time left, and for Fort Lauderdale, after scoring their first goal of the game off of Felicia Knox's free kick, it also feels like there's a little life that they found through that, a surge of energy that they're bringing right now in these initial moments following.
There's most definitely a buzz generating for this Fort Lauderdale team as Felicia Knox is called for the high kick.
Yeah, Pluck involved in back-to-back physical plays there. Brooklyn has to get back to moving the ball quickly. It does feel like Fort Lauderdale's bringing a little bit more in how they're pressuring, competing. Oh, Sydney Martinez needing a trainer to tend to her.
Looks like both teams will get a bit of a break here as Sydney Martinez appears to be trying to stretch out that right leg.
Yeah, it has been a little bit warmer this time of year than usual, especially in New York City. And for Martinez, gave up that goal moments ago, definitely has had more to do this half than she did in the first half, as well as Fort Lauderdale's been bringing more pressure.
Both head coaches chatting with their squads. Well, let's take a look back at the third goal for Brooklyn. It's a build-up that started with Luana Grabias.
And now we know just how important this goal was. Luana Grabias able to find Mackenzie George, top of the box. George stays composed here. Great work there by Luana Grabias just to stay strong on the ball, give her team time to get forward, and then finds George. George with some quick touches to the right, shifts her touch across to be able to slide McKenna Gottschalk and able to find the back post. And now with this game at 3-1, that's a huge goal that George scored. It gives the additional insurance goal. This could be a 2-1 game right now if it were not for that play by Grabias and George to give Brooklyn goal number 3.
But as we were just chatting about, despite being up 2 goals, there's certainly been a shift in the energy for Fort Lauderdale United, especially because of the type of goal that we saw from Felicia Knox, right? That's not typically a goal, but because of the sunshine, the conditions, you can see here, Sydney Martinez still shading her eyes, trying to get a better look at things. Because of the type of goal that was from Felicia Knox, I think that as a whole has given this Fort Lauderdale team life.
It has to. I mean, you can see across the field, there's a few different Brooklyn players that are shielding the sun. Of course, Fort Lauderdale has the sun at their back, so they're not seeing it as they're facing goal, whereas for Brooklyn, all the way through to Martinez, they're defending with the sun in their eyes. So if you're Fort Lauderdale, absolutely, your eyes should be lighting up that you want to create more of those opportunities to just get forward.
Lavini Vaca with the defending, punches that one out. And it will be another corner kick for Brooklyn.
Brooklyn's had so many corner kicks this contest, and we've seen them mix it up, sometimes electing to drop it into the 6, or sometimes going short. We'll see what they do with this one here.
This is now the 9th corner kick of the match for Brooklyn. Ball in to the near post. Every Brooklyn player confused as to how that was not called a goal.
I don't know about that one.
Brooklyn at the top of the box with congestion. Grabias looked like she had a great look. And you can see all the Brooklyn players going to head official Thomas Snyder.
They have a point. That looked like it was over the line. Cameron Brooks her body was clearly in the goal, but it also looked like the ball was over the line. Brooklyn looks like they definitely got robbed of a goal there. Now the frustrating thing, as that goal was not called, is off of that play, Grabias still had a chance. They still generated a chance seconds later. I think for me, if I'm head coach Jess Silva in that moment, I'm saying, wow, it's frustrating you were robbed of that goal. You still had a chance seconds later to score again, and that one would have been a goal with no questions asked. You have to see the play through instead of focusing on what you can't control. That play's over. They had a prime opportunity, and Grabias didn't put it on frame.
Absolutely. And this is a Brooklyn team that has been extremely dangerous off those second opportunities, and we talked about the shift in energy, shift in momentum. Well, that's certainly a spark now that's been lit under this Brooklyn team, knowing that certainly looked like a goal for them. Now they're eager to get one called.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. You cannot, if you're Brooklyn right now, you're up 3-1. Obviously, that's absolutely looked like it should have been called a goal, but was not. That's the reality of it. They're not going to go back and change it. But if you're Brooklyn, instead of arguing or focusing on that call, to your point, Bridget, now it's about, hey, let's get that 4th goal anyways and make it so they have no choice but to count it.
Now, although the sun is in Sydney Martinez's eyes on the opposite side of the pitch, let's look here. This ball is in the sun, but it's going into the shade. Gottschalk is covered. Pluck and Kroger stand over this free kick just outside the box. Kroger plays it in. That'll shoot out of bounds from Celia Gaynor for the 10th corner kick of the match for Brooklyn.
Well, this is a good response from Brooklyn after giving up a goal and then being under some pressure that they've now been able to get back to what they were doing in the better parts of the game that they controlled. Numbers forward, setting up for corner kicks, set pieces, and just a number of opportunities they've been able to create.
Ball in low and hard. Quick passing, short passing in the box from Fort Lauderdale. And
yeah, that was the right idea there that we saw from Sam Kroger. Just a lot of pace on that pass as she was playing the ball into Kess Elmore. Elmore with a heavy first touch couldn't handle it. This is now for Brooklyn an opportunity. Time continues to tick down. This game is winding on. We will probably get a good amount of stoppage time, but see this one through. Protect the lead, manage the game, and see if you can keep it on your end.
Pluck looking for any Brooklyn player to check to this ball. Rosette. Throw in for Fort Lauderdale on the way.
Although that goal did not get called a goal, and that play does feel like it changed the tides a little bit, we are seeing much more, and you mentioned it, lighting a fire under Brooklyn. We're seeing more intensity from them, And then it does feel like it slowed down any sort of rhythm and momentum that Fort Lauderdale had on their side. So did, in fact, feel like it changed the pace of this game.
Disrupted things for sure. Fort Lauderdale, it felt as though they had the momentum. Now it's Brooklyn. Isabel Cox with the ball inside the box, trying to create space. And a looping ball in, saved by McKenna Gottschalk. That ball had some pace on it.
It did, and some great bend towards the back post. Well done by Isabel Cox. We had a great angle of this shot, just working 1v1 up against Vaca, and then slots her touch to the right. And look at her ability to just split Gaynor and Vaca to have that ball bending back post. Just well done by Gottschalk to make the save there and punch it away.
11th corner kick on the way for Brooklyn. Kroger calling for the check back. Pluck. Rejected. Elmore plays it all the way back. That's shot back towards Fort Lauderdale's back line. And it's those balls that have threatened Fort Lauderdale all day. Here comes Kess Elmore on the ball, trying to find Rosette.
Some fancy footwork by Kess Elmore on that one.
Something to note for Brooklyn, Samantha Rosette has primarily played on the back line as an outside back when she's seen minutes this season. Now she's up top.
Yes, and I wonder how much of that is just giving her a different look. For head coach Jess Silva, she's talked a lot about wanting more from this attack. Maybe that also is a change in personnel as well, of having some different pieces in the front of your line.
A different mentality you have to adopt there, moving from the back line to up top as Brooklyn clears this ball out of bounds. Vaca sends this to the opposite side of the field.
Some chaos and bodies hitting the ground in these later part of the game. We talked about it. Fort Lauderdale not fully shutting off and done just yet. Still trying to get goal number 2. Saw them pressing forward with numbers. That was a foul off the ball that was called.
So a kick here from Sydney Martinez as she boots this way up the field. Luana Grabias with some bodying there from Lavini Vaca. Letting a little bit of emotion out. Felicia Knox doing the hard work as she splits the defenders for Brooklyn. And a hard tackle results in a yellow card.
Another opportunity for Fort Lauderdale here as we see this foul again coming across the ball is Christopher, then the foul and the card against Pantuso. Now for Fort Lauderdale, this is a similar spot that we saw the goal by Felicia Knox, a shot from distance off of the set piece. This one a little bit wider, of course, to the left. You see in net Sydney Martinez shielding her eyes again. We know the sun is a problem. Let's see what happens with this one here.
Felicia Knox back on the ball again as Anele Kamani stands next to her.
conversation happening on the backside. There was some physicality, some pushing going on between Scarpelli and Brooks.
A big opportunity here for Fort Lauderdale United in the final moments of this second half. Free kick coming. Ball in the box. Looped out by Brooklyn. Picked up once again by Fort Lauderdale. And a collision here on this near side. Looked like Cameron Brooks and Leah Scarpelli continuing their battle. That was who Thomas Snyder was just having a conversation with on that free kick.
Yes, and Scarpelli's been such a big part of this unit for Brooklyn and what she brings in winning tackles, winning 50-50s, and right now her and Brooks been going at it on set pieces.
Kess Elmore trying to find some space, and Fort Lauderdale comes up with the ball in the midfield. Mackenzie Pluck will be issued a yellow card herself.
Here's the thing, sitting on a 3-1 game as we're getting into the final minutes of the game for Brooklyn, you just want to play smart. Obviously, it's been getting heated. We've seen on both sides some fouls even off the ball. We know the sun is a factor for Sydney Martinez. Do not give Fort Lauderdale any opportunities to attack your net.
Felicia Knox plays it over the top of the back line. Brooks got on the end of it, but Martinez keeps it herself.
That time Martinez able to see that one in perfectly. It's a well-executed play by Fort Lauderdale to get the shot off. And now nicely done by Martinez to not only make the save, but can take her time. No need to rush here, run some seconds off the clock.
That looked like a miss hit on the punt from Sydney Martinez. Brooklyn just doing anything they can to get it out of their half. It looks like we'll have about 4 minutes of stoppage time here in this second half, so loads of time for Fort Lauderdale. Scarpelli trying to clear it out. Fort Lauderdale putting all the pressure on Brooklyn. Pluck plays it up to Luana Grabias. Grabias takes it to the corner.
The fourth official has indicated there the minimum of 4 minutes.
Honestly, it's just too little too late for Fort Lauderdale. They're bringing a lot of offensive pressure, but it's in the final minutes as they're down by 2. You wonder where this was the entire match. And now you have an opportunity for Brooklyn on the other side. Luana Grabias and Brooklyn to just run the time off. You're in the stoppage time, find the corners, end this game, and walk away with your second straight win.
So a free kick here, although not a corner. It's in the corner. Brooklyn mishits that. It'll be a throw-in for Fort Lauderdale. You can feel that rushed energy right now from Fort Lauderdale.
It feels like a 1-goal game with how they're playing this, and that's an encouraging thing that they're playing down to the final second. But again, it took being down 2 goals and in the final minutes to get this surge from Fort Lauderdale.
Although it came late, I have to imagine it's at least nice to see in some ways, knowing what this team is capable of. But if you're head coach Tyrone Mears, associate head coach Allie Rogers, it's, okay, where was this, though, the entire match?
Yes, because that's what I'm wondering. For Fort Lauderdale to have this opportunity in the later parts of the game to bring this level. Obviously, we know they weren't happy with their game versus Lexington in that 2-1 loss. They felt like they didn't do enough to possess well, to defend well, and then you come out today and you have moments and glimpses that look great, but not a consistent showing. But now we're getting it at the very end. So yes, it's encouraging. They're not playing the scoreboard. They're still playing hard in the final seconds. But you wonder how this game could have been different if they brought this level earlier.
Brooklyn not ending their fight as another shot goes towards goal, saved by Gottschalk.
Well done by Brooklyn. They started strong and they're finishing strong, continuing to put the attack on.
Good ball forward, played back to Sydney Martinez. Looks like it'll be a late offside call. We'll stay up to date with the USL Super League. Sign up for the Super newsletter. Get news about your favorite team and stories from around the league delivered directly to your inbox weekly. Sign up at uslsuperleague.com/newsletter. Sydney Martinez boots this ball forward. As we enter the final minute here. If this score holds, a big win for Brooklyn. After going winless in their 4 matches prior to the Tampa game, they now pick up back-to-back wins, with this being their highest scoring output of the season.
Yes, and for a team that's been wanting to improve on the attacking side, you score 5 goals between the 2 games. This is a team, again, that had 8 goals total coming into today and scored 3 in this contest. So you have to be thrilled for Brooklyn by how they were able to start this game and continue that attacking prowess all the way throughout.
Dangerous ball played back to Martinez. She clears it, and that is it. Brooklyn FC picks up their 2nd straight win, their highest scoring output of the season in a 3-1 win over Fort Lauderdale United. Jess Silva told us this group was hungry to get revenge in this game after they felt like they didn't have their true identity showing in the first match of the season against Fort Lauderdale, and they pick up a win here this afternoon.
Yes, with something to prove and lots they've been working on, especially offensively. The pieces look like they're coming together for Brooklyn, getting back to the way they began this season, and you saw that today in their 3-1 win.
Brooklyn picks up their 5th win of the season, 2nd straight, 3-1 here at Rocco B. Camiso Stadium. We've got more for you coming up after the break. Don't go anywhere. Brooklyn FC picks up their 5th win, of the season, their 2nd straight win at home. We love the celebrations from this side. Brooklyn wins this one 3-1. From our producer Maria Ringo, my partner Renee Washington, I'm Bridget Howard saying so long from New York.